Okay, welcome to today's Code Academy, and we're continuing our work on lists today. And I believe we're going to talk about finding the last element in a list, whatever that may be. So accessing list elements, negative index. Remember, the index is that property of an element, namely its position. What if we want to select the last item of a list? Well, it's simple. We can use the index -1 or -1. No, -1, to select the last item of a list, even when we don't know how many elements are in the list. Consider the following list with 6 elements. So it's called pancake recipe. We have the 0 if element, eggs, then the first element, flour, butter, milk, sugar, and love. If we select the -1 index, we get the final element, love. So we can do the print function, and I'm going to mention the name of the list, pancake recipe, and then in square brackets we'll put -1. So the output would be just love, the final element in the list. This is equivalent to selecting the element with the index 5. Eggs, flour, butter, milk, sugar, love. So 6 items in the list. So of course, to get the 6th item we'd do a 5, because we have the 0 if, first, second, third, fourth, 5th. Here are the negative index numbers for our list. So eggs is at -6, flour is at -5. Whoa. Okay, so love is at -1. Okay, so love, the last one, is here at -1. Then this sugar becomes -2. Good. Okay. So eggs, so we count our way all the way to the front of the list, and eggs is -6. So it's either 0 or -6. So -1 for the last one. Instructions. Create a variable called last element. So I'm going to go new line, and I'm going to type last element. And I'm going to assign it just some blanked out speech marks for now, and now I'll carry on reading. Assign the last element in shopping list to the variable last element using a negative index. Okay, so I'm going to remove those. To refer to the last element, I need to use the name of the list and then put an index expression, and then I'm going to type -1 in the square brackets. Now I've got a tick on that box. Now select the element with index 5 and save it to the variable index5 _ element. Okay, so I'm going to create another variable, index5 _ element, and I'm going to assign to that shopping list index expression, so speech marks 5. And try to use Control and Enter for run. Don't click the run button. Use print to display both index 5 element and last element. Note that they are equal to serial. They are both equal to serial. So I can do print, and then I can put in shopping list -1. I'll do another print statement. This time I put in the name of the list, shopping list, sorry, no, I'm supposed to use a variable name. So print last element, where I use that -1, and I'm also going to print index 5 element. And you can see that I get serial in both cases. Modifying list elements. I'm just going to close this box. Let's return to our garden. Garden has assigned to it, we use the equal sign, tomatoes, comma, green beans, cauliflower and grapes. Strange garden. Unfortunately, we forgot to water our cauliflower and we don't think it is going to recover. Thankfully, our friend Geo from Petal Power came to the rescue. Geo gifted us some strawberry seeds. We will replace the cauliflower with our new seeds. We will need to modify the list to accommodate the change to our garden list. To change a value in a list, reassign the value using the specific index. Right, so we're changing a value in a list, replacing it, as it were, with a new thing. So I can do garden with a 2 in square brackets, look here, and assign to it strawberries. Now, of course, we've already got something in the second position. 0th, first, the first is green beans, and second, we've already got cauliflower there. So strawberries is just going to overwrite cauliflower. So we will need to modify the list to accommodate the change. To change a value in a list, reassign the value using the specific index. So if we were to print garden now, it will output tomatoes, green beans, and then strawberries, grapes, as opposed to cauliflower, grapes. Negative indices will work as well. We can do garden, -1, and assign to it raspberries. Remember, -1 means the last element in the list. And if we print garden, it will output tomatoes, green beans, strawberries and raspberries. Instructions. We have decided to start selling some of our garden produce. Word around our town has spread, and people are interested in getting some of our delicious vegetables and fruit. We decided to create a wait list to make sure we can sell to all of our new customers. Define a list called Garden Waitlist and set the value to contain our customers in order: Geo, Adam, Sonny and Alicia. Garden Waitlist, and we'll assign to it Geo, Adam, Sonny and Alicia. Adam decided his fridge is too full at the moment and asked us to remove him from the waitlist and make space for one of our other townsfolk. Replace Adam with our other interested customer, Calla, C-A-L-L-A, using the index method we used in the narrative. Then print garden waitlist to see the change. So we need to replace Adam, which is the second item, second element. Let's use the word element in the list. So how do we replace an element in a list? Well, we assign something to the new element to that specific position. So I'm going to say garden waitlist, garden_waitlist, and I'm going to assign something to position 1. So I use the assignment operator and put Calla. Will that work? To see if it's worked, maybe it hasn't. Maybe I'm missing some punctuation there. Am I? Do I need to put Calla in in square brackets? Well, let's see. I'm going to print garden waitlist. Run. Control and enter. Control and enter. Yeah, it's worked. It has replaced Adam with Calla. So I don't actually need to put Calla in speech marks. We've already sort of said here with this index expression, I'm going to call that, we've already said with that index expression that we're dealing with the content of that first item in the list, first element. Alicia realised she was already stocked with all the items we are selling. She asked us to replace her with her friend Alex, who just ran out. Replace Alicia with Alex using a negative index. Print garden waitlist again to see the change. So I'm going to say garden waitlist, and we'll assign to the -1 position, as it were, the last position, Alex. the string Alex. And to verify that that's worked, I'm going to print the list again. Print garden waitlist. So I should get this list being printed, control and enter, and then another list where Alicia has been replaced by Alex. And I do have that, so it's worked. Okay, next. And the shortcut for that is Alt and dot. So Alt and dot, which is the next arrow. Dot for next. Shrinking a list. Remove. We can remove elements in a list using the .remove Python method. Suppose we have a filled list called shopping line that represents a line at a grocery store. So shopping line has assigned to it Cole, Kip, Chris, Silvana. We could remove Chris by using the .remove method. Shopping line .remove Chris. And then we could print the list name, shopping line, and we should then have the same list as before, except that Chris has been removed, so Cole, Kip, Silvana. If we examine shopping line, we can see that it now doesn't contain Chris, it's just Cole, Kip, Silvana. So we use a method, we do shopping line .remove and feed in an argument, which is the thing we want to remove. We can also use .remove on a list that has duplicate elements. Only the first instance of the matching element is removed. So here we're creating a list, so hash create a list, that's a comment line. Shopping line equals Cole, Kip, Chris, Silvana, Chris. So 5 elements. Remove an element. We can do shopping line .remove and feed in Chris. And then if we print shopping line, it will output Cole, Kip, Silvana, Chris. Okay. Cole, Kip, Silvana, Chris. So what's happened? The second item, 0, 1st, 2nd, has been removed. So the point is, we said we want to remove Chris, and the point is, only the first instance of the matching element is removed. There's 2 Chris's in here, Chris and Chris. So you might think, it's very reasonable to think that all the Chris's will get removed. If I do .remove Chris, makes sense, doesn't it? It's like I'm doing a search of the whole thing and I want to eradicate the Chris's, but we're saying no, that is not what happens. Only the first instance of the matching element is removed. So let's practice using the .remove method to remove elements from a list. Instructions. We have decided to get into the grocery store business. Our manager, Kala, has decided to store all the inventory purchases in a list to help track what products need to be ordered. Let's create a list called order list with the following values in this particular order. Celery, orange juice, orange, flatbread. Print order list to see the current list. So first let's do this. Let's create a list called order list. So we'll assign to it, in square brackets, celery, orange juice, orange, and flatbread. And then print order list. Control and enter. Good. Interesting, it doesn't print the speech marks, it prints single quotation marks. 2. We are in luck. We actually found a spare case of flatbread in our back storage. We won't need to order it anymore. Let's remove it from order list using the .remove method. Print order list to see the current list. So I'm going to do order list .remove and tell it what I want to be removed. Flatbread. Oh. Yeah, but now I need to print the new list. Well, I don't have to, but if you want to see that it has been removed, you'll need to print it again. There we go. So this second list, which is the result of the print function that appears after that remove method, shows that there's no flatbread. 3. Our store has grown to be a huge success. We decided to open a second store and require a new order list. Calla has done us the favour of putting one together. Create a new list called new store order list and assign it the following values in order: orange, apple, mango, broccoli, mango. Okay, so create a new list called new store order list and assign it the following values: orange, apple, mango, broccoli, and then mango again. And then print it. Okay, there we go. Orange, apple, mango, broccoli, mango. We've got a tick on that now. Yep, 3, done. 4, we are in luck again. We actually found a spare case of mango in our back storage. Okay, we won't be needing to place 2 orders anymore. Let's remove it from new store order list using the remove method. And obviously the point is, we only want to remove this mango, not the other mango. And if we do new store order list dot remove and say, right, remove mango, it will only remove the first instance of mango. If I print the list again, we can see that that is the case. Perfect. So we've got orange, apple, broccoli, mango. Only 4 items. 5. Calla ran to tell us some important news. She asked us to remove onions from our new store order list. If we double check our list, we will notice we don't have onions on our list. Let's see what happens when we try to remove an item that does not exist in the first place. So call the .remove method with the value of onions on our new store order list. So I'm going to do new store order list .remove and feed in onions, and then I'm going to print new store order list. And we get this red text. It says traceback, most recent call last, colon, file, /home, /cc user, workspace, create Python list, removing list elements, /script.py, line 19 in module. And then it's printed out our method on our object, because our object is called new store order list. It's a variable, it's also an object. And it says it's a value error. List.remove x, and x is not in the list, which is true, isn't it? Onion is our x, and onion is not in the list. And that's it. Just so you know that that's what happens if you try to remove something that isn't there. Alt. Is it Control and dot to go next? No, it's Alt and dot. 2-dimensional lists. What does that mean? I mean, I know about 3-dimensional shapes versus two-dimensional shapes, but how can a list be two-dimensional? We've seen that the items in a list can be numbers or strings. Lists can contain other lists. We will commonly refer to these as two-dimensional lists. Once more, let's look at a class height example. Noel is 61 inches tall, Ava is 70 inches tall, Sam is 67 inches tall, Mia is 64 inches tall. Previously, we saw that we could create a list by representing both Noel's name and height. So we could say Noel has assigned to it this list, Noel, 61. Two elements in that list. We can put several of these lists into one list, such that each entry in the list represents a student and their height. So there is one list here, and within that outer, well, we might say there's one outer list, and within that outer list there are 1, 2, 3, and 4 elements, and in this case those elements are all lists. We will often find that a two-dimensional list is a very good structure for representing grids, such as games like tic-tac-toe. Really, often. A two-dimensional list with 3 lists in each of the indices. Well, no, I would say that statement is false. There is 1 list in each index. There are not 3 lists in each indices, are there? Because then there'd be 9 lists overall. Let's practice creating our own 2D list. A new student named Vic has joined our class. Vic is 68 inches tall, so 1 inch shorter than Mia. Is that right? Oh no, Mia was 64, so he is taller, 4 inches taller than Mia. Ava is 70 inches. Ava is taller than Vic. Anyway, Vic is 68 inches tall. Add a sub-list to the end of the heights list that represents Vic and his height. Well, we have a list here already. We have Jenny 61, Alexis 70, Sam 67, Grace 64. You know, I don't like, maybe I don't understand properly yet, but I don't like the way they've done this. Here's my reason. A list is when we talk about lists, these entities which are denoted with square brackets, this is an ordered list. So it's not like, so Jenny is in the 0th position, 61 is in the 1st position. But if you think of a person's properties, their name, their age, they're not ordered, are they? There's no sense in which Jenny comes before your age. You could say your age and then your name. So I would rather sort of combine these in a bundle, not an ordered list. I would rather combine them in an unordered list. But anyhow, so Jenny 61, Alexis 70, Sam 67, Grace 64. So I'm just going to add in Vic. Six, 8. Yeah, run. I should really do Control and Enter. Control and Enter. Control and Enter. Next. Yeah, I'm not trying to do that yet. Create a two-dimensional list, so a list within a list. Right, two-dimensional list, list within a list. Create a two-dimensional list, and you can see why they're talking, because It's like it's as if there's two levels going on, 2 dimensions. So create a 2-dimensional list called ages, where each sublist contains the student's name and their age. So I'll do some outer square brackets, and now my first person, Aaron, comma 15, and now a comma for the next person, Druti, comma 16. Control Enter. Oh yeah, and that's it. Here it just says if you want a concept review, want to quickly review some of the concepts you've been learning, take a look at this materials cheat sheet. Still have questions, get help from the Codecademy community. But I'm going to go next, so I'm going to do Alt and then full stop. Accessing 2D lists. Let's return to our classroom heights example. Heights has assigned to it this 2-dimensional list. We have Noel, who's 61 inches, Ali, who's 70 inches, and Sam, who's 67 inches. Two-dimensional lists can be accessed similar to their one-dimensional counterpart. Okay, so we need a way to access these, so maybe we're going to talk about index expressions. Instead of providing a single pair of brackets, we will use an additional set for each dimension past the first. So let's look at an example. If we wanted to access Noel's height, so Noel is the first element and it's a list, access the sublist at index 0 and then access the first index of that sublist. Okay, access the first sublist at index 0 and then access the first index of that sublist. So to Noel's height, that's a variable name, we're going to assign heights, we're going to, and remember heights is the name of our 2-dimensional list, 0, 1, and then we're going to print the result. Yeah, and that would output 61. So the 0if list and the first element of that. Here's the 0if list, and if we look in that, we have the 0if element and the first element. Here are the index numbers to access data for the list heights. So we have the element Noel and the index. The 0th element, the 0th of that. 61, well that's Noel's height. So heights 0 to home in on Noel, his list. And then the first element within that. Ali, heights, the first element, first list, and then the 0th element within that. 70, heights, 1, 1. Sam, well Sam is the second list of all the lists, and the 0th element within that. 67, heights, 2, 1. Let's practice accessing data in a 2-dimensional list. We want to have a way to store all of our classroom test score data. Using the provided table, create a 2-dimensional list called class name test to represent the data. Each sublist in class name test should have one student's name and their associated score. So we'll have one list where the 0th element is Jenny and the first element is 90. We'll have another list where the 0th element is Alexa's and the first element is 85.5. So it's going to be called class name test, and we're going to assign to it a list. The first element, Jenny, comma, 90, and that's okay. We can have a string and a numeric data type, an integer in this case, just in the same list. Next, Alexis, comma 85.5. Next, Sam, comma 83. Next, Ellie, comma 101.5. Just check I've got that correct. So yep, open, close, open, close, open, close, open, close, and then I have my two brackets for the outer list. And then print, it says in the instructions, print class name test to see the result. So I'm going to say print class name test, and then control enter. Good. Use double square brackets to select Sam's test score from the list class name test. So I'm going to say class name test so Sam's test score. So Sam, if you look at where he is in the list, so we have 0 if, Jenny is 0 if, Alex is first, then second, so 2. And then within that, if you look at the list that has Sam and 83, Sam is the 0th element and 83 is the first. So I'm going to put 1. And it says save it to the variable Sam's score. So I'm going to say Sam's score and assign to it everything I have here. And then print the variable Sam's score . 3. Use double square brackets to select Ellie's test score from the list class name test. This time, only use negative indices. Save it to Ellie's score. Okay, Ellie's score will assign to that class. Remember, use negative indices. Class name test. If you look at the list, she's the 4th person, so bring that down 3. Always bring it down. Dive down. So 3, because we count from 0. And her score, so not the 0th element, which is Ellie, but the first element, so I'm going to put a 1. No, use negative indices. So I'm going to put -1 to get the last one, and then -1 again to get the last one within that, and then print Ellie's score. Print Ellie's. Can you try to be a bit more accurate in typing? I mean, you have to care. Control and enter. And we get 101.5 printed. Perfect. Next. Modifying 2D lists. Now that we know how to access two-dimensional lists, modifying the elements should come naturally. So we were just sort of extracting them. Now we're changing them. Let's return to our classroom example. But now instead of heights or test scores, our list stores the student's favourite hobby. So we have a list called class name hobbies. Here's the 0th element, here is the first element, and here is the second element. So Jenny breakdancing, Alexis likes photography, Grace likes soccer. Jenny changed their mind and is now more interested in meditation, not breakdancing. We will need to modify the list to accommodate the change to our class name hobbies list. So to change a value in a two-dimensional list, reassign the value using the specific index. So we say class name hobbies, we home in on 0, then the first element of that, and we say, and we assign to that the string meditation. And if we then print that variable, or which is the whole list, we'll see the new list where Jenny's hobby is meditation. Yeah, Jenny meditation. Negative indices will work as well. We could say class name hobbies, get the last element of the list, and if you home in on that, the last element of that, it'll be football. Yeah, so in this case, the last element of the last element is Grace's hobby. So we're changing Grace's hobby to football. Okay, so this says Grace football, and it used to be Grace soccer. Maybe she's flown to the UK from America. Our school is expanding. We are welcoming a new set of students today from all over the world. Using the provided table, create a two-dimensional list called incoming class to represent the data. Each sublist in incoming class should contain the name, nationality, and grade for a single student. Print incoming class to see our list. So I'm going to assign to it a list. The first element will be a list. Kenny, comma, American, comma, 9. Next, Tanya, comma, Ukrainian, comma, 9. Next, Madison, comma, Indian, comma, 7. And I'm going to print the name of the list now. Print incoming class. Control Enter. Madison passed an exam to advance a grade. She will be pushed into 8th grade rather than her current 7th in our list. So remember the third element here, second, Madison Indian 7. So modify the list using double brackets to make the change. Use positive indices. Print incoming class to see our change. So what I'm going to do is say I want something new to be assigned to a specific thing in incoming class. I want something new to be assigned to incoming class, the 0, 1st, 2nd element, and specifically the 3rd element of that. See that list that says Madison Indian 7, so 0, 1st, 2nd. So 2nd thing of that list. And I want that to be changed or have assigned to it the value of 8 because she's in 8th grade, not 7. And now if I just print incoming class to reveal that change. Whoops. Then you can see that it has changed. It says Madison Indian 8. And I have a tick on that now. 3. Kenny likes to be called by his nickname, Ken. Modify the list using double brackets to accommodate the change, but only using negative indices. So I want to assign something new to incoming class, and Kenny needs to change to Ken, so we need to count from the back if we're to use negative indices. So the list that contains Madison Indian 7, that's -1, the position -1. If I go back from that, so from here to here, this is therefore -2, that whole thing. And that means this is -3, so -3. And specifically, the again, -1, -2, -3. So minus 3 of -3. So -3 of -3. And we want it to be Ken. And print incoming class again. Control. And we can see that that has worked because it says Ken American 9, Tanya Ukrainian 9. And we have a tick next to 3 now. Alt. Next. Review. So far we have learned how to create a list, how to access, add, remove and modify list elements, change Kenny to Ken, how to create a two-dimensional list, how to access and modify two-dimensional list elements. Let's practice these skills. Instructions. So Maria is entering customer data for her web store business. We're going to help her organise her data. Start by turning this list of customer first names into a list called first names. Make sure to enter the names in this order. So first names. Ainsley, comma, Ben, comma, Chani, comma, Deepak. Run, Control, Enter. And we have a tick. 2. Maria wants to track all customers' preferred sizes for her clothing. So create a list called preferred size. Notice the spelling of preferred. Preferred. E-R-R-E-D. Fill our new list preferred size with the following data, containing the preferred sizes for Ainsley, Ben and Chani. So preferred size, and we'll assign to it well, I was going to create a two-dimensional list, but it doesn't. Maybe we just small, large, medium. Is that what it wants us to do? Because of course this isn't very clear, because I suppose it's somewhat clear because we can see that small is in the 0th position, so that must be Ainsley's preferred size. Ben is in position 1, so, and large is in position 1, so it must be that Ben prefers large as opposed to this one or this one, and Chani prefers medium. But it's a little bit confusing, I think, because we might think that Deepak's preferred size is medium because these are both in the last position, but that's not true. Is that okay? Okay. 3. Oh no, we forgot to add Deepak's size. Deepak's size is medium. Use the .append method to add medium to the preferred size list, and then print preferred size to see our change. So if we do preferred size, and we'll assign to it, oh no, preferred size .append medium, print preferred size. And now it should say small, large, medium, medium. Good. Maria is having a hard time visualizing which customer is associated with each size. I bet. Let's restructure our two lists into a two-dimensional list to help Maria. In addition to our already available data, Maria is adding a third value for each customer that reflects if they want expedited shipping on their orders. This will be reflected using a Boolean value, true for expedited and false for regular. Create a two-dimensional list called customer data using the following table as a reference for the data. Each sublist should contain a name, size, and expedited shipping option for a single person. So we're going to say customer data, and it has assigned to it a list within a list. So Ainsley, comma, small, true, Ben, large, false, Shani, no, Shani, medium, true, and Deepak, medium, false. Control and enter to run. Control and enter. And then print customer data, please. Print customer data. Good. Shani reached out to Maria, and you'll see. Okay, so Maria is not on the list. Maria is our owner. So this customer, Chani, requested to switch to regular shipping to save some money. Change the data value for Chani's shipping preference to false in our two-dimensional list to reflect the change. So all I have to do is assign to that specific place, so customer data, and we want Chani's shipping preference. So Chani is the 0 if, no, first, no, second one along. So customer data 2 and then 0. We'll assign to that. No. The shipping preference, so 0, 1, 2, or we could do -1. So we're using a combination of positive and negative indexes. Control and enter. Yeah. Good. Six. Ben reached out to Maria asking to remove his shipping option, so the true or false value, because he's unsure what type he wants. Use the .remove method to delete the shipping value from the sublist that contains Ben's data. So to delete. So we're going to do, let's see, and they say no, we never explicitly went over how to use the .remove method on a second list together. So if you feel like you're struggling, look at the hint for guidance, but let's see if we can do it. So we're going to do customer data. Now the question is, can we do it in one go? What I mean is, can I do customer data, so Ben, he's the first position, so we have Ainsley, Ben. Customer data 1, and then like .remove. I don't think so, because this is a method. So you can only do a method on an object. So maybe we have to do customer data .remove. No. Maybe it is customer data 1 dot remove, and we then feed in the fact that we want to remove because now that we've said first position, now that we've specified a position, we are dealing with a list, just a list. We're not dealing with a complex two-dimensional list anymore. And so because we're now just dealing with a list, well, we can just say the name of the thing we want to remove. Remove Ben, or rather remove false. Control Enter. And we've got a tick. So yeah, that's right. Customer data 1.remove. 7. Great job making it this far. One last thing. Maria received new customers, Amit and Karim. The following 2D list contains their data. Okay, so we have one element and another element here, and both elements are lists. Create a new variable, customer data final. Combine our existing list, customer data, with our new customer 2D list using plus by adding it to the end of customer data. Print customer data final to see our final result. So customer data final. Combine our existing list customer data with our new customer two-dimensional list using plus by adding it to so what we'll assign to customer data there. So customer data plus, and then can we just copy and paste that? Copy, Control V, paste, and then print customer data final. Have we made a mistake there? Let's read the instructions again. One last thing, Maria received new customers, Amit and Karim. Well, yeah, we do have them there. We're adding them on, so this kind of makes sense. They're new customers. We want to add them to the list. Create a new variable, customer data final. Combine our existing list customer data with our new customer 2D list using plus. And then print. So we can do Control Enter. And yeah, that looks like it's worked. We've got Ainsley and Ben and Chani and Deepak and then Amit and Karim. We have a tick on 7. Great. Up next. So Alt and next. Lesson complete. You earn 25 XP each towards your skills. Computer Science and Python. Which of the following is the correct way to turn the following into a list of names? Tom, Jerry, Tweety, Sylvester. So names has assigned to it, and then we use curly brackets to have our listing of names. Names has assigned to it square brackets containing a list of names, but there's no separator. Names has assigned to it Tom, Jerry, Tweety, Sylvester, there's no brackets in sight. Or the fourth option, names has assigned to it square brackets, Tom, Jerry, Tweety, Sylvester with commas between the names. That's the fourth correct option. Yeah, a Python list has brackets, meaning square brackets on either end, and commas between each item. The Python method .remove will delete every instance of a provided value. Is that true or false? False. Define a two-dimensional list called student data, using the table below to represent student names and their respective quiz scores. The order of elements should be ordered using the index in the table. So we have a table here. We have the element column and the index column. Olga, 90, index 0. Maxim, 77.45, index 1. Doug, 80.3, index 2. Sophie, 87.45, index 3. So student data has assigned to it, well, we want Olga to be in the 0th position. So Olga, then Maxime, then Doug, then Sophie. You got it. Modify the two-dimensional list student hobbies so that Samantha has the hobby of football instead of cricket. Here we have a list. Let's just break this down. We have a list called student hobbies, and we've assigned to it, using the equals character, this two-dimensional list. So we have a list with 3 elements. Here's the first element, which is itself a list. Here's the next element, which is itself a list, and the third element along is there, although that's in position 2. The third element is position 2. So modify this list so that instead of it being Samantha, cricket, it's Samantha, football. Well, first we need to name the list, so student hobbies. Then we need an index expression. And to do that, we first have to zone in on the first element in the list, which is Samantha, cricket. So I'm going to put 1 in the square brackets here. But then if we zoom in within that object, within those square brackets, we have elements listed. Now we don't want to change Samantha, that's the 0th position, but we do want to change the first position, so 0, 1. So I'm then going to put a 1. So you see we home in. First we say, well, overall we want this, which is 0, 1, and within that we want 1. And we'll assign to that, well, what do you want it to be? Football. You got it. Which of the following is the correct way to add the number 4 to number list? Number list dot append 4. Number list dot append 4 in square brackets. Number list plus 4, or 4 dot append with the argument being number list, so the thing we feed in being number list. Well, the correct way to add the number 4 to number list is to use the append method. So I'm looking for one of the options that has dot append. So that tells me I'm either going to deal with this 0th option here, or the first option here. Now, do I want the 4 to have square brackets around it? Well, square brackets denote a list. I'm adding an element to a list. The argument of this method is the element I want to add. I don't want to add a whole list to the element, to the list. I don't want to add a list to the list, so I don't want square brackets. I just want to add an element to the list, to add the number 4 to the list. So it's just this one, where we have dot append and then a 4 in rounded brackets without speech marks around the 4. You got it. Which of the following is the correct way to create an empty list? So we could have empty underscore list has assigned to it, and then some blanked out square brackets. We could have empty list has assigned to it, and then some blanked out curly braces. So curly brackets or braces. Empty list has assigned to it the word none, or empty list has assigned to it a 0 in speech marks. Well, it's this option here. We just do blanked out square brackets. How would you access 77.45, the string, from the following list? So it's called student data, and we assign to the student data variable name Ali, 90, Bob, 87.5, Cam, 80.3, and Doug, 77.45. So we want to get the first element, not the 0th element, which is Doug, the first element of this list. So the first element of the -1 if list, or the third list. So we don't want the 4th element. We do want the -1th element, the last element. So last. So this is good so far, -1, and then we want the last element of that. So this is right. That's correct. The first student data -1 will get the last element. So this whole thing will be selected, Doug, 77.45. And then we need to home in and say, well, what specifically do you want to alter, the Doug or the 77.45? Well, the -1 index of that sublist returns 77.45. remember, -1 just means last. Just think of it as instinctual. -1 last. Which of the following is the correct way to remove the first instance of Rio from name list? And name list is the name of the list. Name list. Is it namelist.remove Rio, with Rio in speech marks? Is it namelist.remove Rio, but Rio is in square brackets? Is it Rio.remove namelist being the argument fed into the brackets there? Or remove and then rounded brackets, and inside the rounded brackets namelist Rio, with Rio in speech in square brackets? Well, to remove the first instance of Rio from namelist, we start by just naming namelist. So it's either option, the 0 if option, or the first option. So the two options at the top. Right, so that's the first thing. It has to be namelist, and then it has to be .remove. Well, both of them say .remove. Again, I'm talking about removing an element, right? Which of the following is the correct way to remove the first instance of Rio, meaning the first instance of the element Rio? So there's no need for square brackets. I'm not talking about removing a list. What I put inside the rounded brackets with .remove is what element I want to remove, right? We already know that we're dealing with a list because that's what .remove is all about, and namelist is a list, so we know that already. So we don't need to do .remove and then have Rio in square brackets, because that would suggest that Rio is a list. Square brackets contain or mark out the boundaries of the list. So we don't need, so it's the 0th option. What would be the proper way to access strawberry from the list groceries? So groceries has a sign to it, and then in square brackets we put grapes, comma, strawberry, comma, starfruit, comma, apple. So 4 fruits, each with initial capitalization. Grapes with a capital G, with an uppercase G, and so on. So we want to access strawberry, so 0, 1. Is it going to be groceries, and then 0 in square brackets, 1 in square brackets? Groceries, and then 2 in square brackets? Groceries, and then 1 in square brackets? Or groceries and then strawberry in speech marks in square brackets? Well, this third option, 0 if first, second, third, looks very tempting. You put in strawberry because that's the name of it, isn't it? But actually, we haven't seen that. That's not something you can do. So we're better using an index expression. And we know we count from 0, so 0 if first. Strawberry is the first, so it's going to be groceries and then 1 for first in square brackets. How would you properly modify the list interview line to replace Ben with Sarah? So interview line and then the assignment operator, Jess, comma, Noel, comma, Ben, comma, Orlando. How would you properly modify the list interview line to replace Ben with Sarah? Well, we want to assign to the 0th, first, second position the word Sarah, and it will just sort of overwrite Ben. So we just put assignment operator, Sarah. Check answer, you got it. Is the following list a valid Python list? My list has assigned to it Mount Everest, comma, to 29,029. Well, why not? You might think it's not a valid list, perhaps because we have a string in speech marks and then a number, an integer, because it's a whole number. And you might think, well, we can't mix and match data types. But you can. Lists can contain multiple data types. And we've finished the quiz. We've got a quiz summary. We got 100%, 11 questions correct. And you can review your answers down here. You see it says review your answers. It tells you what all the questions were. Remember question 1? How do we write this out as a list? Well, we would assign the elements using the assignment operator, and it shows you the answer that you put. We can scroll down through them all. Next time, we will look at this project called Gradebook. But for now, let's leave it there.